during this webinar, I will make the presentation with my colleague, Diane. You can see her on the camera also. And we will also have the pleasure to have Cosmin and Laurențiu from CS Romania. And they will also make the presentation and answer your questions. So Diane, can you go to the next slide? So this is the outline for today. I will briefly give you an overview of Sen4CAP for those who are new. I don't know if there are many new persons here. And then I will give the floor to Diane, and Diane will introduce you the new use cases that have been selected with the European Space Agency and that will be developed in 2022. There will be also a presentation about some features, some characteristic of the new version 3 of Sen4CAP. You know probably from the forum that we have some issues with Sentinel-1B and with the new format of Sentinel-2, and we want to update you on that. And then we will summarize also a lot of questions that, or we will summarize questions that often come back on the forum to put everybody on the same stage. This is for the outline. And so maybe before starting, I would like to remind you that after each topic, we will open the floor to questions. So during the webinar, please mute yourself, use the chat for urgent questions, and then we have the time to discuss. And the last information, which is not really Sen4CAP oriented, but just to inform you that I will be leaving for 3 months for a maternity leave. And so this is more or less my last day today, and I will be back in June. And during my leave, Diane will take over and she will replace me. Of course, always working with our colleagues from CS Romania. So this is also why she will give the main topics of the webinar today. And thank you for the messages. And so, in fact, this is a pleasure for me to be here with you for my last afternoon, and we will start the webinar. Next slide. So the quick reminder, Sen4CAP. So at the beginning, this was a project which aimed at showing the added value of Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 for the CAP. And at the end, this is no more a project, but this is a toolbox, and we are really working with you to, let's say, make evolving these toolbox towards your needs and the new needs that are coming with the new CAP in 2023. So I will not remind all the steps from the project. What is probably more important for you today is the fact that we are going on in 2022. And as you know, there will be new use cases, meaning new algorithms that will be developed and that will be implemented in the Sen4CAP system. And to accompany this evolution, there will be, again, webinars, trainings, courses, communication towards the users. So more information will be given later on. The key aspect of the Sen4CAP system is probably the fact that we compute a database of markers. You know it already. So we are using Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, time series, vegetation indices, and we compute markers at the level of each parcel. And we store these markers in a database, which is growing over the season. This database, of course, is used in the Sen4CAP processors, the processors that were developed in the project during the 3 first years. But what is more interesting is that you can access directly this database through an API interface, and you can build your own applications using these markers. And so these markers will be key in this 2022 year, because we will really try to facilitate the use of the markers and facilitate the integration of new applications on your side. Next slide. Yes, this is the overview of the system. You know it. I will not go into detail on this. So the version 3 was delivered on November last year. The new features will be reminded by Diane later on. So the next slide. The different components of the system. This is not new, so you can see it. Everything is open source. It means that everybody can use it. There is absolutely no restriction. Next slide. And the way the system is used or can be used is that we try to do a very simple parameterization. So at the beginning of the year, you define your area of monitoring, your period of monitoring, and the sensors that you want to use. Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2 only, or also at Landsat 8. And then you can run the system in real time along the seasons. The pre-processing will be done, the computations of the markers will be done. And depending if you want only the markers or if you want also the more advanced processors, you will be asked to provide some tables or some parameters in configuration files along the season. Of course, you need also to upload your subsidy application to provide the parcel boundaries and the crop types that were declared by the farmers. My last slide about the overview is this one. This is more about you. So the number of downloads, you can see it. So this is many downloads. We try to be reactive on the forum, even if during the last weeks, because of some uncertainty about the Sentinel-1B absence and also the new format of Maya, we were not able to answer correctly all questions, but we will try to clarify it today. And we are also trying to organize capacity building and training activities. So here we are at webinars. Before we did some trainings. You will see in the next events that we will try to come back to some capacity building with trainings during key events. And that's it from my side. I don't know if there are questions. There is one question about the API, which does the API also cover access to the collected signals? I'm not sure I understand what is the collected signals, but so the API provides access to the database, and the database is the average of the Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2 signal at the parcel level, and not only the average. There is also the standard deviation and so on. And you will see later on a proposition to make the database evolving a bit. But so the API is the access to the database, which could correspond to the collected signal depending on what you mean. There is a question from Dominique asking if it's still possible to have free access to virtual machine on CrowdIS. Unfortunately not. Not through the project. So this was offered to the paying agencies during the last year of the main project. Here we have an extension where this is no more offered. But I know that there is the possibility to have a virtual machine with Sen4CAP already installed on CrowdIS. But then you need to contact CrowdIS to have a pricing and an offer. If there are no more questions, I propose to move forward, and I give the floor to Diane for the introduction about the new use cases that will be implemented in the project. Diane, we cannot hear you.
Thank you. So thank you, Sophie, for the introduction. So I will briefly explain you the new use case for 2022 and the system evolution with the new version and the issues that we have for the moment and a few solutions for them. So regarding the new use cases, we had a call for the paying agencies that will focus on use cases that miss in the current system and which is really focusing on new regulation or performance that is asked by the Commission for the CAP monitoring. And so we received a lot of propositions, more than 10, and from several paying agencies. And in the next 6 months, we will be the research and development, and then the algorithm selected will be implemented in the system. And we will be focusing on 3 main use cases and some evolution also for the system. So the first use case is about the sub-parcels heterogeneity. So we will be developing markers to detect some spatial non-congruency within parcels. So it's the definition is to determine the presence of spatially continuous cluster of pixels that exhibit a different signature from the expected scenario within the declared parcel. So we will really look within the parcels if there is disparate crop types or management, and have some markers that can be also set into the marker database and or within product that could be useful. And here the main new analysis that we bring into the Sen4CAP system is a really per pixel approach. And these use cases will be really part of the baseline phenomenon of the Commission. We'll be also working with several paying agencies for this use case. So we have area of interest in Germany, Saxony, Germany, Schleswig-Holstein, Danish, Greece, Luxembourg, and Latvia that still need to be confirmed. Yeah, that's all for these use cases. The second one is about the change in category between years. It's also part of the baseline phenomenon. So here we will look at the arable land, permanent crop, and permanent grassland, and this land cover that change between years. And in order to tackle this this use case, we will look at change detection in the time series of Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2, and see if there is similarity between years or this similarity that can be detected, and also some agricultural activities that can be useful to observe the changes. So here the analysis will be more on the multi-annuality and the change over time. And we will be working on 2 areas here with the Germany, Saxony, and the Luxembourg. The third use case is the bearsole markers. So here we will look at the vegetation, but also the bearsoles during all year, and so including the winter months where there is less Sentinel-2 image. So the main issue would be to really find indices that could be also used during winter or during summer when there is lack of Sentinel-2 image. And so we can observe, for example, lawn cover or catch crop destruction during winter, the permanent grassland following. It could be used in that case too, or some indicator of erosion with the bearsole duration or things like that that could be used in more biodiversity and performance in terms of ecological performance. There we will be working with 3 regions, the Walloon region in Belgium, the Luxembourg, and in Sweden too. So that was the 3 use cases, and the last improvement that we want to do is more about the Sen4CAP system in itself. and we want to offer the user the possibility to add their own indices. So for that, we have to first define some basic markers that will be implemented into the system. For example, there was a user asking for the median to be implemented for the Sentinel-2 band. And so we will implement it into the system. These markers will be slower than mean or standard deviation, but it's still an option, and it can be useful for a user that wants to go deeper in the analysis. And we want to ask you if you have other basic markers to integrate in the system. And so those basic markers will be used for create new indices with more classical band maths, so ratio, sum, differences, and in the system. Another improvement will be the information on selected training parcels in the crop type map L4A processor of the system, where we will be offering the possibility to produce chart of time series, so the mean and the standard deviation of these selected training parcels. That's all the improvement we will focus on during this year. So I will tell you a bit more on the actual version and what are the new interface and the issue we have for the moment. So maybe you have question on the new use cases. I'm just looking at the chat. I see that Sophie already.
I answered most of them in the chat, but maybe the last one from David. We can answer them. What were the other proposed cases that were not selected? So there are two use cases that were not selected. The first one was about the grassland monitoring of permanent grassland and the plowing in the grassland also. The reason of this non-selection was the fact that the in-situ data needed to calibrate the algorithms and to validate the results were not ensured, and so having this kind of data was needed for the development of the use case. And the other one was about the minimum activity. We had a proposal from one country to develop a use case about the minimum activity, but instead of looking, so for the moment, the approaches for the minimum activity are to detect a lot of activities, and if no activity is detected, then the minimum activity is not ensured. And here the proposal was to work in the opposite sense, looking at the absence directly on the activity, and especially in very extensive landscapes. And so here we confirmed that this was a very interesting use cases, and that there are a lot of things to do. But for us to implement that within 6 months, the time frame or the time that we have is not enough to have good results on that. So this is the reason why it was not selected. So for all the other ones, all the other proposals went in the same direction than the one that was selected.
Yeah, and it's quite complicated to be something that it's that could be used for all the member states. So it's really sometimes region specific, and it's really difficult to upscale it to the whole European region. So, and there is one more question: if there is a need for more region of paying agency and if it's possible to join one of the use cases. We have already some regions that are available, but I don't know, Sophie, if we can.
I would say that on our side, this is more or less done. I will not close the door because the use cases were selected and we have already, let's say, started the definitions of the sites, the configurations of the machine, and so on. So it will not be possible to add 10 test sites from now. But if there is a clear wish or request, you can always contact us by email, and we will analyze, I would say, on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, most of the selection is completed.
Okay.
And maybe just before letting you go to the next topic. If you want to join, do not forget the conditions that we put for the proposal. It means that if a paying agency wants to support one of these use cases, this is always with the let's say request from us to share some in situ data and the farmer's declaration to support the development. So this is really something that we insist on that. So the existence of in situ data to validate, to calibrate is really important, because if not, for us, this is difficult to be very efficient in the development of the new algorithms.
If you have really good in situ data that you could maybe share with us, we're really pleased to work together in this implementation of the new use cases. So in the version that was delivered last year and the system evolution, so we went from a beta version only available for the paying agency in 2019 to this new version from really a lot of evolution, some consolidation with for example, the possibility to use Sen4CAP image, but also the evolution with the marker database, the tillage processor that was added in the system, and now a new web interface with a better product visualization too, and the addition in the market, some additions also in the market database, and more secure services and stable version of the system that was delivered in November last year. So this version 3 has a new web interface that is now accessible from a new URL, and it looks like this now. So it's really shifted, and the upload of the file, every system is more user-friendly, I think, too. And it's possible in the product tab to visualize the raster product and the vector data, even to visualize the chart of some markers from the database. And this is really useful for the validation of the product and so on, in order to observe if there is errors in the processing or something like that, that could be seen with the product here. Another really key point is the addition of the configuration tab, where you can really change the configuration directly within the web interface, and which is really useful either to understand what kind of parameter can be changed and to change it. That could be changed either for the whole system or specifically for each site that was defined before. The other main improvement was the marker database, which is be added with the Sentinel-2 band, the mean and the standard deviation of the Sentinel-2 bands, in addition to the single date marker that was already in the database, so the Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 time series. So it was the L3B and so on. And those Sentinel-2 bands are configured by tiles and need to be, and they are not by default in the system. So they need to be configured for each band separately. And this will be the case for the new markers that will be also implemented in the system. There is also an addition with the marker database tree, so related to the agricultural practices, so the detection of the harvest, and there is also the securization of the services through an HTTPS and authentication token usage. Now I will talk about the issues. So first, the Sentinel-2 change in format for the L1C. So there was a change in the 25th of January this year, and we wanted to show you on how to deal with this new format in the system. So first, there is a new version of Maya that was delivered yesterday. So this is really good news, and this new version will be available into a Docker in the system. And so you will just need to update the Docker, and it's not the complete system that will need to be uploaded. And there is also the possibility to use Sen4CAP image, so the processed L2A image from ESA. So into the technical details, so if you need to change the version of Maya, you can do it by changing two parameters in the configuration. First, the Maya image name that will be a new Docker, so within a new Docker, so you will need to change the values of the version of the Maya, and also download the zip file and change the path to this new zip file. For the L2A image from ESA, you need to change two parameters. So the product parameters from Maya to Sen4CAP, and the download use ESA L2A from false to true. And this is possible to be site specific for these two use cases. So if you download the image directly from the SciHub, for example, it could be site specific. Otherwise, if you are using a local route, so for example, in CreoDIAS, you need to change it for the whole machine. And a key point here is also that if you start to use one of the the algorithm, you have to keep it for the whole season. So you have to choose, for example, if you start the 2022 season now, you have to choose now that you will work with this algorithm during the whole season. That's all for the first issue. So the second one is a bit more tricky because it's the absence of Sentinel-1B. We have since December 23 no image from the Sentinel-1B. So it has an impact on the data, and we don't know if we're possible to recover the data from this period where we don't have any data, and we don't know for how long it will be missing. So here in the Sen4CAP system, we there is the possibility to either work with only Sentinel-2 data or to create a 12-day coherence product. So the crop type map and the grassland mowing product are can be launched without any Sentinel-1 data. But for the agricultural practices processor, we would not advise to use it without any Sentinel-1 data, because too much of the marker are really used within this this processor. And if you really need to use the FR practices, we would suggest to create the 12-day coherence product. And this 12 days can be processed, of course, but we don't know how much it will impact the results in the end and the performance of the results, because we never tried to do it with a 12 days coherence, but it's possible to create it. In terms of parameters, so it's quite easy to change for the crop type map and grassland mowing. So there is just one parameter for each that needs to be changed, and it can be done either by site or for the whole machine. And there is also for the crop type map the possibility to change it when you launch a custom job. For create the 12 days coherence product, you just need to change the master name from Sentinel-1B to Sentinel-1A product. And that's all for my side.
Thank you, Liane. Any questions about the different points that have been explained by Liane? About the version 3, the new Maya, absence of Sentinel-1B. Do not hesitate to unmute if you want.
I have a question. Hello, everyone. Tomas Lygutas from Lithuania. I have a question regarding Sentinel-2 satellite images, which are getting archived apparently maybe of half a year old. They are not accessible anymore, at least for me. Is it a known issue? Is it an issue that could be solved automatically from your side, or anything that could be done from our side that we could get this data available?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So this is known. I would not say this is an issue. This is the ESA policy in terms of data distribution. So they have changed their data policies, I would say, during 2021. I do not remember the exact date. And so if I'm correct, only the last months, even not half year, but maybe 1 or 2 months are available online. And if you want older data, so they are available, but you need to ask. And so it makes, let's say, the monitoring of past season very complicated. And there is nothing that we can do on our side because the data are simply not there. So they are there, but on another storage. And so you need to do the request to ESA, to the SciUp, to have access to past data. This is if you work, let's say, locally, and if you download the data on the SciUp. If you work on a cloud, and for instance, the diocese, then there are more, the period where the data are available is longer. So I don't know the conditions of all dioceses, but usually in Europe, the 2 last years are available directly. And so this is the way you can solve it easily. If you want to process past data, is to move on a cloud where the data are available. But working directly on the SciUp, you will need to make the request, and then you will be given ESA will give you the access to the data, but to be honest, we never did it for one full season. And so I know there are some quotas. You cannot have access to as many data as you want. So it might be a bit complicated, yes, but there is nothing we can do.
Thank you very much. Then we will try moving to DS. The Creodas DS is the one that you are recommending, and will it need any additional configuration from our side, or the provider will configure everything that the data would be available just on that installation which is there?
So CreoDIAS is, I mean, we are working on CreoDIAS, but we tested the different DIASes, and so there is the possibility to run Sen4CAP not only on CreoDIAS. So this is, you can choose the one you want. This one information, and the other one is that depending on the DIAS you will choose, the data are there. So on CreoDIAS, there are always 2 years of data which are directly accessible. So you do not have to do any request to access the data. Then if you want older data than 2 years, you need to ask. And I think this is when you, let's say, go to DIAS, and when you sign when you decide the machine you want to have, that you need to ask the right data set. And then they provide you a bucket with the data that you asked.
Okay, that sounds a very reasonable solution. We will dig into that. And I see another question that is it true that version 3 is not yet available in there?
I know this was in progress. I don't know if there is someone from CreoDIAS there here. Sorry. If this is not yet there, this is just coming. But you should ask them directly. I don't want to commit for them.
Okay, of course. Then I will not be taking more time about that. Thank you.
I don't know if I heard someone speaking.
Yeah, it's me. It's just for maybe it's not possible to have directly the version 3, but it could be possible to have the image for the version 2 and then update it manually yourself with the version from the Sen4CAP website.
Yeah, but version 3 should come, and so I propose. I mean, we can ask CreoDIAS, and maybe when we get the date, we can post a news on the website.
Yes, and another question that got to my mind is that the new web interface is available only through localhost, which means that we have to make a VPN connection to the server to access the website, the interface. And I tried to look quickly at the possibility to redirect it to the public address. Is it available? Is it blocked specifically for some security issues, or will this functionality will be available just to reach it through the public address? I mean, yeah.
Maybe we can ask Cosmin or Laurencio to answer this one.
Yes, actually, this was the first topic on my presentation. So I will answer during the first slide of the questions and answers topic.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
But so let's take this opportunity to move to the next topic of the webinar. And so Cosmin.
Yes, so I'm Cosmin Andreu from CS Group Romania. Now this is our name because we changed the company name some months ago. So I will discuss next a list of questions and answers that we extracted from the hottest topics on the Sen4CAP forum. Unfortunately, I think this will be more IT-oriented discussion, so I hope it will not be too boring for you. So the next slide, please. The first would be a topic related to the port and the new URL for accessing the Sen4CAP website. So as you already noticed in the presentation from Diane, in order to access the web interface, you must navigate now to this URL. But this is available is in the cases when you are running on the local machine. But otherwise, if you are accessing remotely the machine, you have to put instead of localhost the IP of the machine. Additionally, as you can see, the port changed. Previously, in the previous versions, the port was 80, but now it's no longer 80 and is 8080. As the new website from the Sen4CAP system is provided by the Sen4CAP services and is not a distinct separated application. But maybe the users that are working on CreoDias already faced this problem. The port 8080 might not be open by default, so you will have to open the port from the CreoDias, for example, web administration interface, so it's not related to the Sen4CAP system, or otherwise you can create an SSH tunnel for this port, and then you can access the web interface to localhost that new port and the rest of the URL. So this is the second solution if you don't manage to open the 8080 port. So another question for the forum was if some ports like 8082 and 8083 need to be also open or forwarded for the Sen4CAP system. No, they do not need to be open because they are only used internally by the system and to communicate between the system application. Also, as discussed already, it is possible to create and to authenticate using HTTPS, but for that you will have to manually change a configuration file in the Sen4CAP services, where you will have to define the new port and also to provide the SSL certificate that you will have to generate or be generated, and the password for that certificate. Okay, next slide, please. The second topic that was discussed on forum and raised some questions is related to some S1 preprocessing errors when using a local root, like in the case of running on BIOSes, but also if the user is downloading products locally. The particular issue in this case was that the fetch mode in the data sources was set to symbolic link to products, which means that symbolic links are created automatically by the Sen4CAP services to our products, and this was at some point used this symbolic links were at some point used to deal with an issue in Snap in the context of using input products from an S3FS system. But this mode is no longer recommended in version 3.0 of the Sen4CAP system. Instead, the option direct link to products is preferred now, and is recommended. We might even think in the future to remove the symbolic link option. But if you are running on a system having S3FS file system, it is recommended also to additionally to set the copy locally variable to true. There are some examples of how these operations can be done. The copy locally key is needed to be set to true because the snap issue still didn't disappear, but this issue happens randomly. This is the biggest problem, and you should set it to true. Normally, if you use the image with Sen4CAP 2.0 from BIAS, this key should be set by default. Okay, another interesting topic that was discussed was how to relaunch the S1 preprocessing in cases when you get out of disk space and the preprocessing failed. To do that, there is this kind of commands that should be executed manually, unfortunately, on the command line of the system. But these actually apply also to the Maya processing errors from the same reason. By setting the satellite ID to 1 instead of 3. So in a future version, we might consider adding some tools, administration features or page in the web interface that could launch these commands automatically by the services and no longer needed, but to be executed by the command. We will try to do that, but of course depends on the time we have. Okay. Yes. So another thread was also discussed about an issue when launching or executing L3B, but this applies actually to all the other high-level processors. The issue was that the jobs were started and they were remained in the submitted state without actually executing. In that case, the first thing will be for the top users to check that the Sen4CAP processing services are running and try to restart them if inactive. This can happen after a reboot of the machine. Could happen in this situation and should be checked. We corrected already this, but it will be available in the next version. If this was not the case and the issue still exists, is to check if Slurm is correctly installed, and for this check that Slurm services are running. There are some simple commands that you can check, and after that you will have to, if an error is given, you can try to restart Slurm, and if some command not found error is encountered, you might have to consider to also reinstall Slurm. Unfortunately, Slurm is a third-party application that we use and may have its own issues. But this would be the solution for now. Okay, next slide, please. One of the known issues from the version 3.0 is any the version with also some issue is that for the moment the upload does not work for a site with 2 seasons, with multiple seasons actually. We will try to correct that in the next version, and until then we will probably have to provide on the forum, if you encounter this issue, some comments that will help you to upload manually the data. Also, there is an issue when one season covers 2 years, so it starts in 1 year and in the middle of the season. So this is the condition. So the middle of the season to be the next year. A command must be executed manually in the database to update the key in the database. So if you encounter this issue, this would be the solution. Next slide, please. Another issue was with some null values in the M4A routed product. For this, there could be several reasons for which the parcel is not classified. So there are 2 small parcels, less than 1 Sentinel-1 pixel or 3 Sentinel-2 pixels after the buffering. Also, there could be small crop types that have less than 30 parcels. And this is the importance of the good crop code lookup table. Also, the land cover is not the classified one, and the parcels that have problems with their geometries, like invalid geometry, duplicated parcels, or parcel overlapping with another parcel. Also, another reason might be the pre-processing of the Sentinel-1 or Sentinel-2 SLC or L1C products. And for this should be checked the statistics of the system, and also see if there was an issue in the pre-processing of the Sentinel-1 or Sentinel-2 products. And this is the last slide from me. If you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you encounter any of these issues, or you need or you have new ones, please post on the forum, and we'll try to help you and to respond as soon as possible.
I see the same question as every year from Kemal. Well, how long will the Sen4CAP project continue its work? I think that now this extension in 2022 was not expected, and this was really good news. So I think that in terms really of funding from ESA, that will be the last year. And so it corresponds also to the fact that from 2023, the paying agencies must have implemented their monitoring system. And so probably some support will continue, but it's not as a project. So maybe we can come to the last slide, because we are already at 1 hour of webinar. So the next event, to give you a a short overview. So as Cosmin mentioned, do not hesitate to post any questions on the chat, not on the chat, but also on the forum about the System 3 and past versions if you are still working with the previous versions. We invite you to propose us new basic markers or signal, to use the right word, the right wording, that you would like to see implemented in the markers database by email. And so we will, of course, we have IDs within the consortium, but if you have some strong IDs, some strong propositions, tell us by email, and we will close, let's say, we will make the selection at the end of March to start the implementation in April. So you are most welcome to send us an email. The next webinar will be planned for early May 2022. And you know that there is the Living Planet Symposium from the European Space Agency that will take place in Bonn at the end of May. The Sen4CAP project will be presented. There will be presentation and there will also be a demonstration, and we will communicate you more information as soon as we know more about the timing. We have also been invited to do a workshop during the next Pantarei conference, which will be also in Germany in June. And we are waiting for the final confirmation and also the agenda to, let's say, make it very concrete. But like for the LPS, we will send an email as soon as we get more concrete and detailed information about that. That's it for us. If there are some requests in terms of training, you can also ask us. We can redo some online training if needed, depending on the needs, or to organize a question and answer session on the version 3 or whatever. But you need to ask if you want. Any questions from the audience, from you? If not, I propose that we stop here. We close the webinar. So thank you very much, Diane and Cosmin and Laurentiu, for all your inputs today. There is a comment regarding support of the system. It's available only the forum. The forum is the main tool to interact and to get the support. Yes. Then because then everybody can also benefit from your questions. And we can have a full view of your questions and of what we need to clarify. And so I propose to stop here. Probably we will remain online during a few more minutes if there are some questions. But thank you very much for attending the webinar today. The slides and the recording will be put online during the week on the website. So have a good afternoon and see you soon. Bye-bye.